Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the EEARSS podcast produced by Terrier TV. I am Alligator Rob. That is Bill Curtis. That is Randy Rodriquez. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Doing good.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
So this is our first time getting together since Christmas, right? Or just before Christmas?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
So tell me about I know you did some traveling. Tell me about it.
Well, I went through 9 states, put on just a little bit less than 4,000 miles on the
new ride?
On the new ride.
There you go. Okay.
And we went out to El Paso, Texas, where my son and his wife and their 2 sons live. So went out there and visited them. We went to the Sun Bowl.
Really? Who was playing in
El
that?
Paso. Oh, it was Notre Dame and Oregon State. And
that's an interesting matchup.
And it was completely sold out.
Huh.
And it is amazing to me. I mean, because Notre Dame is God's team, and especially if you're Catholic. And in El Paso, there's a lot of Catholic folks. And man, it was amazing. They all had on Notre Dame stuff a lot, and it wasn't brand new Notre Dame stuff.
They're old
They
school,
had they had this for a while.
They broke out the Rudy stuff.
I mean, I went 5 years earlier or 4 years earlier when Florida State played Arizona State, and the place was maybe 3/4 full. But it was packed to the gills.
Notre Dame's a popular, of all the college teams, I'd say they're overall probably the most popular.
Oh yeah. Well, again, being God's team, they got to be. And so it was,
Lord.
but it was great. It was a beautiful day, beautiful sunny day. I thought it was going to be cold, so I overdressed and sweated like a pig in there. Because I'm Florida, and they said, well, it's going to be in the 50s. It'll be fine.
That's freezing,
But the sun, I mean, there was no breeze, and the sun was there. Oh, no,
there was sun at the Sun Bowl.
There was sun at the Sun Bowl. And
I feel like this shouldn't have been too shocking.
Well, but you don't know. You don't
true.
know.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
It could be cold and windy. A lot of wind there, but it wasn't that day. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
Good family time.
Yep, grandsons had a blast, and
that's where it's at.
And good time.
That's where it's at, Bill. I'm happy to hear, buddy. Glad you made it back safe.
What about you? You do anything fun?
No. I mean, New York.
Right, but that was before.
Was that before I left?
That was before because we talked about it.
Keep forgetting how long ago that was. But
now the videos come out since then.
That's true. The video did come out.
The videos.
Did you get some chuckles out of that?
Oh yeah. I watched that. That
pretty
was
comical.
Pretty good. Yep.
They went over, I think about 10 or 12, and we went through more than 20. So.
Oh, okay.
We'll see when they drop the other side of the hammer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
For other weird Frank Robb sarcasm, which will be broken out. I'm sure. Yeah. I got to do that at some point. But.
Okay.
All right. You ready to jump into this?
Yes, sir. I am.
All right, so Randy, I have been a fan of yours for a very long time. It's super nice to finally have you here and chat with you. This is the first time I think I've ever met you.
I think so. Yeah. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, great to have you here, buddy. So you are kind of a local legend, I would say. Man, what haven't you done? I know you've coached for a long time. You coached on the baseball side and the softball side for a long time. But the Happenings newsletter there in Port St. John, we were just looking at this. Your first episode was 34 years ago.
Yes.
I remember this when I was a kid. It's so crazy to look back and see it now. But tell us a little bit about that journey, where you started it from, a little bit about you. Go through all of it for us.
Yeah, it started in a bit of temper with the county. There's something unusual for me.
Okay.
Early days of Port St. John, construction in there for most lots was less than a quarter of the block. And there was a limit because there was no city water yet.
Right.
So, and no sewage, and the county wanted to put sewer in, which, is not a bad idea if there's a sufficient plant to do it. There wasn't in Titusville, of course. It hasn't had enough capacity for decades. So where does it go? But as an owner there, if they added the sewer, you are going to have to remove your septic at your own expense.
I remember this.
Roughly $15,000 because you had to refill the hole with sterile sand. And unless you were really good and had a lot of time and a really great shovel, you were going to have to pay the expense.
That would be one heck of a shovel.
Yeah, right.
Remembering that at least 2/3 and probably more like 75% or 80% of the block was vacant, if you went and bought one of those lots, you could connect for $750. So every home in Port St. John existing was going to go backwards $15,000. I'll rephrase and say every home west of the railroad tracks, which is the vast majority of Port St. John.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was creating anger, and it was all being done in private meetings, not public meetings. So it took a while. I couldn't get Today to write articles on it. I couldn't get Star Advocate to write articles on it. I thought, it's not all that expensive, to send to every home in Port St. John, which was true at that time. It was more I thought, but it wasn't that bad. So I started something out, said, hey, here's some information about things going on here. Youth sports, always been huge in Port St. John. And oh, by the way, as the average home price at that time was around $50,000, we're all about to lose about $15,000. How do you feel about that? You need to get on the phone. We need to see the commissioner. We need to start making those meetings that everyone to this day is terrified of going to, like it's Wizard of Oz blowing fire or something. But we got it done. Got an attorney, got it halted, and moved on. And this silly little thing I thought, might someday get to 4 pages just so I could talk about sports and all and what's going on in there, because the paper on either side had plenty of their own. They didn't really need us in the middle. I just keep chugging along.
Yeah, it's still in print. It's still happening to this day.
It has gotten as big as 48 pages.
That's incredible.
It is back down to 20 with economics changing and the internet sweeping away a whole lot of advertising, because paper and print anymore is a fortune because they're not printing as much.
How do you distribute it?
Direct mail.
Oh, direct mail. Okay.
Yep, the expensive way, but I did it one time by car, and I got in a whole lot of trouble for that, so I went back to direct mail.
Okay.
Wow.
Not supposed to go around and put things in the mailbox.
This is true.
Right.
Who knew?
People get sensitive about such things. It's funny you were talking about the whole issue with the septic tanks, because I understood when I was younger that when Port St. John got to 2/3 occupancy, they was supposed to automatically go over to sewer, whether people wanted it or not. And man, that's been like something we've snuck past for a long time, if that's the case.
General Development, who put the vast majority of the Port St. John area, the platted things, anything that says Port St. John Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, any of those, that came through General Development, and they made the agreement with the county at 2/3 the county would put in water, which they did, and they charged us for, but everybody liked that, and everybody got hit equally. And the 2/3 they just kind of slid on by because the county made a fortune, in building fees. But it is an issue now. The whole state, has gotten after septics like they're the devil's worship. But there's a whole lot of science that says 25 feet after it hits that septic, it's dissipated. And you can't say that when these big sewer plants get hit with a storm and too much water, and they have no choice to survive except dump. And off it goes into the nearest river.
So you've watched all things with Port St. John for a very long time. I mean, since you guys have been there, what you were saying, what year did you get in Port St. John?
84.
84. Okay, so you've been covering it with a newsletter since the 90s. What are some of the, other than the septic tank thing, what are some of the biggest challenges that people might not know about that Port St. John faced or overcame? And what are some maybe new challenges or new blessings you see coming up in the future?
Well, that was definitely the biggest, but the fight to get the county motivated to do the water, which took more effort than we really expected. We thought that was a very profitable thing. It turns out water is not really profitable for the local government. So, and it's a whole lot of work and a whole lot of planning and a whole lot of money to invest before you get water to houses. And it's worse now than it was then, but here in Florida, where are you going to get new water? Not enough falls from the sky, and we're hitting the aquifer pretty hard. But it was a bit of a challenge doing that. Getting a connector road on the west side of I-95, if you were here that early.
Yep, born and raised, yep.
You crossed at Fay Boulevard and their roads.
Yeah.
And then there became a school. But if anything happened, it's Fay Boulevard out. And that's what most people believed. It wasn't entirely true, because the old ranch road went across 95, but it went into a private farm. And then it became Sheriff's Farm had a piece of that.
Yep.
So there was an overpass, but only the rednecks, you had to find the dirt roads to get back to it. So in an emergency, if Fay Boulevard had ever shut down, one of the infamous semi trucks, whack that thing, everyone would have been stranded.
Interesting.
So trying to get that connector, which goes now from Gulfview up to the new Port St. John Parkway,
Indeed.
solved a lot of worry and issue about that. Not just handy traffic, but that was a biggie.
That makes sense. Okay.
So a lot of other things were smaller, just you get into warfare at some of those offices because everybody has a need and there's never enough money to do it all. So you just try and keep poking things to the top of the list.
Looking at the future of Port St. John, what are challenges you see coming up, and what do we really have going for us? What are some very positive things you see there?
Yeah, our positive thing is about to get timed out of our job. We have a great county commissioner, but we have an issue, sore spot for me. And as we sit in Titusville High, there's probably a lot of folks who would see that. Port St. John had a middle school years ago, and we were next up for a high school. Well, our school board commissioner talked parents who are just about to have to send their kids up to Titusville to school into signing a request to make a junior/senior high school because there would be no money for a high school for 15 years. So, but we could get you a school right now if you'll sign this, but I can't just tell the board to do it. You have to send a request from parents. Of course, those parents did. It'd be great to have a school at home, save a whole lot of issues. Wrote the letter, school board slammed that thing through in a hurry. We got the money for half a high school and half a middle school, and the next year they went to work on Vieira High School. Take a look at the difference between what that money made in Vieira and then Heritage after that, as opposed to what that little bit of money they sent to Port St. John happened. Did I mention it's a real sore point with me?
I'm gathering that.
So you feel like we were slighted?
I do.
Okay.
That was the politest of words.
Yeah. Okay.
And it still remains. No one's done anything about it since.
Now, I started here in 95, and Port St. John didn't have a middle school.
Nope.
They all came to Jackson.
It didn't happen until
to
after
Jackson.
I graduated.
Yep.
Everybody came to Jackson, and high school they came here. You said they had a middle school? When did they have a middle school?
I don't know what year it was built, but it pre-existed the high school, and they joined the two together.
No, I don't think that's...
We never had a Space Coast senior high by itself. We
Right,
had
but
So
I
it
don't
was
think there was...
the two showed up together, yeah.
with Space Coast Middle, and now it's Space
I knew they
Coast
had like
Senior
a
Middle.
sixth grade
Yeah.
center.
I think attached to the high school, yeah.
They went up that, and they kept 7th before they sent them on to junior high.
Okay.
Okay.
So we had that.
I don't remember that,
Yeah.
but
And
okay.
it becomes a nuisance every year, too, when something comes up. Last year, Space Coast Junior Senior High, for the correct title, wants
Right.
to do track meets at their own track. It doesn't meet standard to bring other schools to it. So anything they do, they have to go somewhere else. They finally got the school board to agree to do it and, created the project and then said, but you have to pay for it.
Well, they just did the same thing to Titusville High.
Yeah,
So-
we
I mean,
just
they
had-
did
had to
our
have this
track.
one redone.
We had to raise like $100,000. I think they're
Yep.
doing that for everybody.
It
the way
seems
they're
like.
doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. The way they're doing it.
It's annoying.
Yeah. But I mean,
It's less annoying when it happens to everybody.
you get a state of the art, rubber track, which is pretty cool. But now when I started here, we had a track, and but there was no lights, so you couldn't have a track meet here because there were no lights.
Yep.
And and then when they did the construction like 15 years ago, that's when they built the stadium here, and then we had lights. But the track was not up to specs.
No.
Same thing as because when they built Space Coast Stadium and they built our stadium, they did the same kind of design. And so, yeah, nobody was learning anything.
It's hilarious. What's
Yeah.
your favorite thing about Port St. John? If you had to pick one thing and say that is my absolutely favorite thing about Port St. John, what would it be?
Still the people.
No joke.
It's changed a couple
We
of
are spoiled.
times over
Mhm.
that, but people there tend to work and do things. And when you do need something, like a new track or the events we do, and say,
Mhm.
will somebody come out and help? This is more than a one-man project, and this would be good for a lot of people. A lot of people show up. The youth sports, which stays huge, if you guys are familiar with that, that's all volunteers. And it takes an enormous number of parents, adults, to go in, supervise, coach, teach, whatever they have to do for the kids to be able to come out and play.
And so you coached for a long time, yes?
Yeah, I think about 8-9 years.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, it might be too funny and embarrassing a story.
Oh, well, then by all means, don't tell funny or embarrassing stories.
Yeah.
Because no.
The wife played softball, so I was coaching in the women's softball league, her group. And the daughter found out they were playing softball in Little League. It wasn't just a boys thing. I was all excited, The wife went down, said, "What's her age?" Said, "Yeah, she's got to start at T-ball." Like, there. And signed my husband up for a coach, too. Because I wasn't around. Although I might have been gullible enough to go with that at the time. So I ended up a T-ball coach.
Okay.
And I can't remember Leslie's last name, but thankfully at about the third practice, she came out and said, "Coach, I don't know a lot about baseball, so I don't want to tell you how to coach, but I feel like the kids would really benefit if you would tell them which field is left and which one is right and which base is first." When you say throw there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The following year, I signed up to coach seniors. But I did coach out, I guess, my T-ball career. But it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because you don't really think. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, they're here at the ball field. They got gloves in their hand. They're throwing the ball. Like, yeah. The things you got to do for that. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I do that at every grade. I start back at the very beginning like they know nothing every single time.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, even the high school kids. I start back at like they know nothing and go from nothing and like
it's a good
prove
assumption.
to me, prove to me you know something.
Yeah,
and then we'll go to the next step. Yeah.
That's
say.
right.
And nobody, they don't know.
Until you're not answering me real fast, I can move real fast. But when you stop, that's probably where I should be starting. So, it's a great learning experience for me.
That's pretty good. So
yeah.
You said you do real estate as well.
Yes.
How did this come from the real estate, or did you start the real estate after this?
I was already licensed. Yeah, it's another sad story, but it got burned pretty good buying my first house. But like most people, we spend years getting educated in schools, universities, wherever, and hardly a word is said about what you should know when you buy a house or mortgages. For most people, most expensive thing they buy in their whole life. So
right.
Here I came tumbling along. I've got 7 days, courtesy of the Navy, to find a home and get the heck back on the ship and get ready to pack and go. So yeah. So when it was all over, I went and took the same school that realtors take. They were the other people then. And I probably mispronounced it realtor back then, like my whole family has yet to break the habit of.
They still.
Anyway. Yeah, I went to that and said, yeah, okay. I got a call one day from another agent who had gotten his broker's license and said, "You live in the middle of all those military people going in and out. Are you going to get your license?" I said, "No." He said, "Would you reconsider that? Because you can send referrals and we just give you money for, telling us who needs help and we'll help them out." This is great. I went, took the test, got the license, did that, send them like 3 names in a couple of months. And when you're enlisted, little checks like that really add up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, not a penny on any of them, and found out from one of them they'd really messed them around. And I said, hey, next one I'm going to take myself. So I went and joined the board. And 5 years later, I owned my own company. So, with a partner, Sandy Messer, and I owned a company. And we went on from there. So,
cool.
But nobody else burned our customers.
That's great.
Go. Yeah, because you take control of it,
Yeah.
and then you know what's going to happen.
You were Navy?
Yep.
How long were you Navy?
15 years.
And where all did you serve doing that?
I was on submarines, so limited number of
Good
places.
Lord, buddy.
And urban renewal. So I was in Charleston. I was up in New London, Connecticut. I was in Virginia. I ended up here. I was in Kings Bay. Rode the tender into Kings Bay before they ever built a dock because they didn't think the Navy was really coming. So you see the size of that base now. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's huge.
Well, thank you for your service.
You're welcome. And
So-
just for your personal amusement, I went to school in Great Lakes, Chicago.
Really?
I left there at 14
funny.
degrees. Said, I am never coming back to this city. Some 20-something years later, my daughters there got married, had 3 grandchildren, and guess whose dumb fanny is up there every year now?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. The grandchildren are an attraction. They are.
Never say never.
Oh yeah, that's true.
What part of Chicago are they in?
New Lenox, southwest side.
Okay, I got you. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that's at.
Everyone knows Joliet and Speedway, so
Yep, I know where that's at. Yep.
border to border.
Wow, interesting. So, okay, submarines. Is it true they stay out like six months to a year at a time?
It's true they can.
Oh, you didn't have it. You didn't have
go-
those experiences.
You go out of your mind.
Oh,
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I often wonder how people do it if they're staying out that long in a submarine because there can't be that much room to move
Well,
around.
The fast attacks, they cruise around, come up wherever the heck they want.
Do they?
So,
Okay.
if they may be gone, from their station, long as they want, but they're coming up somewhere, getting some fresh air, hopefully getting the laundry done. So,
So, but if you're on the missile boats, you're under.
you're on. When you
'Cause
leave,
They don't want us
you're not
to
going
be
to see
seen. You
anything
can't be
until
seen.
you come back. Yep, not to
Goodness
be
gracious.
seen.
So, which
not
one
to be
did you
heard.
do? Which were you on?
Woodrow Wilson.
Okay, so was that an
Be-
attack?
No, it was a boomer.
Oh, a boomer. Okay. Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Urban renewal on the fly. So,
There you go. Yep.
but it's just different stuff.
That must have been an experience.
Yeah, first one was semi-exciting, but you spend so much time qualifying, you don't have too much time to appreciate it.
Right.
And then by the third one, you're bored to tears. And
So, what was your job? What did you do?
it doesn't exist in the same name anymore, but it was a fire control technician for missiles. Now,
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now they're just all fire controlmen. If you point something and shoot, you're a fire controlman.
Okay.
What from that part of your life have you taken into doing everything you do now?
Computers.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah.
in
yeah.
high school days, I loved to write, but in the Navy, I got to spend a lot of time at the computers. If something happens to them now, you'd think I'd never touched one more than anybody else. But when I came out of there, I was cutting edge of all that, taking part, putting in the parts and all. But you don't spend your time on it regularly.
Right.
You have no hope. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
do
yeah.
spend your time on it regularly, there might be one thing but there's so many things they're capable of now, and
Yeah. And it
devices
changes
and
so
add-ons.
fast.
You can't keep up with printers, let alone
Yeah.
the motherboards and add-ons and the memory.
Mhm.
I mean,
It's the reason I mess with animals. Animals
There
are
you
pretty
go.
much the same.
They pretty much stay the
gators.
same.
Yeah,
Adaptation's a little bit of a thing. I mean, maybe they're figuring some stuff out, but not while I'm here. I don't think.
Yeah.
that's right.
no.
They bite you at this end, swat you with its tail at the other. Just don't get in that zone. You're fine.
Oh,
but
Lord.
yeah, computers are. My first one I ever saw was an IBM 90 in Jacksonville. Before I even went, and they ran computer information, and it took a room much larger than we're in to do something my phone does now.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy,
Yes.
isn't it?
It is
That's-
amazing.
It's
the
flipping
difference.
insane how things have changed like that.
Yep. A room that they had to air condition so heavily.
65 degrees, which
Yep.
made my job good in the Navy.
Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh.
Remember as a kid the Delta Gold IBM computer we had.
Yeah.
And you'd have to spend. They had these magazines they'd printed where you have several pages of things just to get to make like a mosquito sound or something. You have to write several pages of code.
Right.
Like, whoa, check it out! It made a sound. Like it's
made
the
a
craziest
sound.
thing ever. And yeah, it's wow. Technology's maddening. It's
Yep.
maddening.
And then they say, kids nowadays. Oh, kids know how to use computers, and no, they don't.
No, they really don't.
No, they don't. They
Yeah.
know how to maybe run the apps that they like to run on them.
Yes.
But if you want them to do anything technical or any troubleshooting with it, they have no idea. They have no idea. They don't know anything.
But they have a ton of friends at high school, so they'll work it out.
Right. Oh, yeah. And somebody around there will know.
Or figure out how to
And,
break it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Which
mean,
is, it's the version of fixing it.
yeah. So it's just, it's different. Well, it's like, when we were around, there were kids that knew how to do the computer stuff and
Yep.
people that didn't. And it's still the same. It's still the same.
And they're fearless. I've thought that for 20 years. If you
Mhm.
have a problem and you're afraid to break it, ask a youngster, because they probably didn't buy it. They're not afraid to break
Oh,
it.
yeah. No,
They
no.
will try things until it works,
There
or
you
you're
go.
like, don't touch anything, call a repairman. They
They're
just
like,
go in, but again,
"Nah."
it's the software end.
Yeah.
They'll work out the app and put you back and say, why didn't you just do this? Like, oh, cowardice.
Well, it's been awesome connecting with you, Randy. I know that we did the Christmas parade with EEARSS, That was a flippin' blast.
Yeah, thanks for coming out for that.
Yeah, it was. I don't think anybody's ever had alligators in the Christmas parade before us.
There were
Nope.
alligators in the Christmas parade?
We had alligators in the Christmas parade. We had alligators
Yep.
and snakes both in the
Oh,
Christmas parade.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
People's eyes got like this big. It was hilarious. Yeah, I
And
loved it.
The
It was
parade's
great.
always been about kids, and they love such
Oh,
things.
that's
I'm
so cool.
surprised every few years something comes along. Like, who knew?
Right.
all-
That's always been the coolest thing, and you've done that for years too. That's been your baby.
That was born on my desk. We have a group taken over now, Port St. John Community Foundation. My replacement has been designated because
Wow.
I had a less than fun accident a few years ago. While I was healing in the hospital, I thought, all these events would be gone if it had been a little bit worse because it's all in my computer. And, to help.
Right. Nobody else knew.
I had a big group who'd come out on the day as long as I got the permit, did everything else, assembled it, put the plan, and invited everybody. All the logistics part.
Right.
And I have a super crew who does that. Again, my people in Port St. John. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's an army.
I said,
It's an
Mhm.
army of people. Yeah.
I should probably teach some other people how to get this thing started because they're great at the end.
Right.
So-
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
that's where we are today.
Thank you for all you've done for so many people over the years, Randy. I mean, it's a huge thank you because you've been there and been the cornerstone of the Port St. John community forever. So thank you for everything you've done. Man, really couldn't say more thank yous. I know you've done a lot for us here recently with EEARSS, helping us advertise and letting us give shout outs and stuff. And I really thank you very much for the time. And man, it's just an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Great.
All right, Bill, on to the
Yes,
next
sir.
one.
Yes, sir. I suppose.
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning into the EEARSS podcast produced by Terrier TV. You can find us on all platforms by searching EEARSS or EEARSS. It's ears with an extra E and an extra S for those that might confuse because it does sound funny when you say it that way. It's kind of meant to. It's the idea. All right. We'll catch you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.